Hey everybody, there's a few things that really get me fired up, and one of them is having the opportunity to begin another Conquistador Podcast every single week, beginning of the week. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, my name is Mauricio Garcia. I'm the host, and I'm always joined, obviously, by the great, the legendary, the Hall of Fame entrepreneur, Mr. Hubert Humphrey, to whom I salute this Monday. Hubert, how are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you, man. It's going to be a great week. Love being with all the great entrepreneurs and all the driven, determined dreamers out there. Let's share some great things with them today.
Yeah, I heard many times that winning in business is really all about the mindset, is the mentality, right? The rest of stuff that are skills. And I know that there are some things, I would say most things are teachable. Some things are difficult. Maybe you kind of have to grab them in the air. I don't know if you know where I'm coming from with that, but just for the lack of a better explanation. But the mental toughness is one thing I really want to talk about, because to me it was a secret per se. I thought I had to be born with a certain skill, and that the mental toughness was not something that everybody could actually develop. And I've come a long way, from being an employee or maybe an introverted person. If you just look back 10, 15 years ago, I am a complete different person nowadays. And after learning that the mental toughness and some of these things that I'm sure we're going to talk about can make a big difference in anybody's life, whether they're in business or not, right? So mental toughness is the topic of today. And How do you want to, from what angle do you want to begin this conversation? Because I know there's a lot of ground to cover.
Well, I think you started it right there. Everybody that I know that is successful in any endeavor, in any period of time in history, now and in the future, will have had to have developed some skill sets that they didn't have when they started. That entrepreneurs are not born; they're developed, and every attribute that they have to be successful is developed along the way. Some of them develop it faster, some develop it slower, some develop a little bit more than's needed sometimes. But everything they're going to need to succeed, they're going to have to develop or copy. And I need to say it like that. Sometimes if you're not around a good model and you don't have the right systems and things like that to help you, you're going to have to do some homework and dig it out of the dirt yourself. You're going to have to go do it. But it's going to be developed, or it's going to be you're going to have to develop the ability to copy something that's developed, so you can get this mental toughness. And there's a phrase that I use in our business called turnkey mental toughness, because I like to speed it up in people. We take a lot of brand new, I call them new professionals, newbies, greenies. They've never been in business before, and instead of them having to have a long learning curve, we try to do everything we can to get them to become sort of a leader at birth. Right when they come into business, if we can get them to follow our system and copy what their leadership line is going to teach them, and the principles that are learned by the successful people in the past, they can start being a leader in the beginning, and it gives them a little bit of a mental toughness that they didn't have before they started, because they're sort of borrowing it. The fact that a system forces you to do the next thing, or the things that success demands that you do, timely enough, often enough, repetitiously enough, that you become system tough. Not the kind of tough where you're street tough, where you go out and you're going to beat somebody up, but it gets you into doing the right things. And so the word tough is sort of probably a misleading word here, because tough sounds like some macho word. We're not talking about macho here. Right. We're talking about tough enough to make sure you do what success demands that you do at the right time, and a system can help you do that in a big way. And to me, it's all about copying and imitating, and to being able to do that. We promise our people that if you want to be a legend of the future, you just got to copy what the legends of the past did, and copy it exactly and implement it. And it's very predictable of what your future will be. Right. You can become one of those people. So that's the first thing about mental toughness, is that it is something that you can acquire. I've seen people that everybody's a lot tougher than they think they are. It's just only when they get under pressure will they ever have a chance to see really how tough they are. And a lot of people are kind of comfortable in life. They're in their little nest. They're on their job, and they're in their little routine. They're in their little average and ordinary flow of life, and nothing ever tests them a whole lot. They've kind of got a little complacency. They're consigned to their fate, and so they kind of rock along. And so nothing ever really tests you about to see what your strength of character is and everything. In fact, John Wooden, a great basketball coach, one of the greatest of ever in the history of collegiate basketball, he said one thing. He says he said that while it's possible to reach the top of one's profession on sheer ability, it's impossible to stay there without hard work and character. So, see, to me, character is the willingness to do what it takes. It's a willingness to change, and so that's what mental toughness it really means here to me. And it's even I use sports analogies a lot of times, like Red Auerbach, who was a great coach of the Boston Celtics. They set all those records there. In fact, they won just to kind of to be specific here. They won like 11 NBA champions. Can you imagine that? Michael Jordan won 6. They actually won 12. Bill Russell won 11 of them. And
wow.
and what he said he didn't have to kick his players in the rear or juice them up with a bunch of rah-rah talk. Mm-hmm. The players knew the Celtics system. They knew how Auerbach's system was, the Celtics system, and the championship level to which they were accustomed to playing. Well, now, obviously, a lot of these players were new. Every year there was a few new players along with the veterans, and the new players didn't have to come in there. They just borrowed that. They borrowed that legend or that background, that winning tradition that came with that system, and they just plugged into a winning system. And like the New England Patriots up there right now have got a whole bunch of new people. They spent a couple $100 million bringing a bunch of new people in up to the New England Patriot system. Be interesting this year to see in the football season how they do. But they didn't have the New England Patriots 20-year record they've had, all the championships, NBA Super Bowls they've won, but they're all going to come in and plug into a winning system. So the best way to have mental toughness is to get into a system that can save you from yourself, and then help you build that into a lot of your people, and save them from themselves, so they can be repetitious. Instead, that the Celtics players had the inner confidence to motivate themselves. The players knew that they had the winning system. They had it. They had exercised the discipline to run the plays. All the discipline you got to have is the discipline to follow the system. That's all it is. The players mastered the system, and it kept them at their high level of greatness for a long period of time. And I take that back into our business. One reason why I think we've separated ourselves over the years, but with all these companies that we produced, is we had a system and the other guys didn't. Even within the companies that when I first started with A.O. Williams, I was running a system, and a bunch of the other guys in there didn't run a system. A lot of their people gravitated over to us and learned our system, even when their leaders didn't understand the system. So you don't even have to have your upline leader have the system. You can borrow it from a sideline, which they did. The system is the reason why I'm talking to you here today is that I'm not a macho, super tough guy. I'm just a very strong system tough guy, and I've been able to proceed and pass that on to lots of people, and we've been very successful with it.
Yeah, a lot of people sometimes assume the word system as just a certain steps, and I see with so much clarity today something I couldn't see, when I first got to meet you. I'm sorry, which is not just going how to go from, in this case, just a prospecting to contacting to a presentation to a follow-up. Those are steps, but there is this psychology behind it, which is really that's how I interpret that mental toughness, is that there is in one of the speeches you gave in Vegas, you talk about, there's this very fine line between those people that are really extremely successful and those that are not. And even some of the people that can't even match the level of success of others, have a lot of knowledge. In other words, people with lots of knowledge, a lot of information, do not match other people that are just emotionally enthusiastic. They're excited. They're more loyal. They do the extra work. They get up when they fall. They don't. Maybe they stumble forward, stay confused, type of thing that you talk about. And I don't think that most people really understand that, or they assume that a system, that a psychology, a way of thinking ought to be part of the system, not just this is how you contact, this is how you prospect, this is how you sell, this is how you follow up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's right. They think it's all just a physical type things.
Mm-hmm, but that's what most competitors. That's exactly what we say. They have a system, but not really a system. Like a system with no soul.
Well, the one thing that makes brand new people with no experience in business so great in our models, in our businesses over the years, is that they come in with one thing that that you just can't replace. You can't copy it. They have a hunger. They finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired. They reached a level in their job, and the compounding of average and ordinaryism has just finally took its toll. And it's like old Popeye the Sailor Man used to say in the old cartoons many years ago. He was just a mild-mannered little guy, a little sailor. And then when things finally just got to a point, he said, "I can't stand it. I can't stand no more." And he'd gulp down some spinach and go ahead and kick some butt and take some name. And that's sort of what happened to me. I rocked along for 17 years, but I thought I couldn't take it. I thought I couldn't take it. But hey, I must be taking it because I'm still taking it. Mm-hmm. But finally, it got to a point to where when I found just a little opening of something that looked like I could do, that came luckily fortuitously came my way. My hunger level put me in there, and hunger makes you tough. I mean, you want to be tough, just be hungry. You don't try to catch a stray dog that's hungry. Don't go.
Yeah, well, I mean, once you're on survival mode, I think just like you said, you realize that you can be tougher than you think. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Whether you even think it or not, you are, and so mental toughness comes by bringing people who are hungry who are hungry for that change. They're hungry for the next level. And even if you got leaders that have been with you for quite a while, you got to go out there and re-stretch their vision. Get them to realize that, hey, you don't settle for the success you've had. You need to have already been dreaming a bigger dream, and then let them see other people that they admire, and kind of let their butt burn a little bit that they're not up there with those guys. That's why great events, whether it's local events or big events or whatever you have, where they see other people coming across the stage, getting awards, and they say, "Man, now that ought to be me." If a person's really any kind of a winner at all, got anything inside of them, when they see other people just like them achieving, doing just what they can do, that develops toughness. There's all kind of ways to fuel a fire, and desire and toughness are sort of synonymous. And you can fuel your desire by keeping your vision constantly stretched, and the closer you stay to a system, the better you'll be. It's like repetition is the mother of skill. Well, the secret of repetition is to following a system so you can do it over and over and over again. It's like if you got soft hands and you're gonna hit golf balls, you got to hit them till your hands bleed. You're gonna have to have Band-Aids all over your hands, and after you've hit enough balls, you don't need any Band-Aids. You've got calluses there. You've got golf calluses for your swing calluses, and you've become. I was a sissy. Now I'm tough to play golf. My hands got calluses, and it's just like that with anything. There's got to be. I saw this movie Whiplash many years ago. Won an Academy Award about this boy wanted to be a great drummer, a great jazz drummer, and he got he ends up at this big school, and they got one of the toughest instructors in history. He's like a Marine drill sergeant, and in that thing, you wouldn't think a drummer that sounds like sissy stuff, but in this deal in Whiplash, he had to repetitiously do these fast. I mean, Whiplash type of type of things until his hands bled. He put Band-Aids all over him, and he'd have to keep doing them and keep doing them, and it'd bleed all over his drums. You wouldn't think talking about somebody in a band about it, but this guy made him be mentally tough to become one of the all-time. If he wanted to be an all-time great, you're gonna have to bleed, man. You're gonna have to do it. It's just the repetitions. The boy wasn't born with it, but he was repeating it, and he knew that if he did it enough, he'd eventually be tough enough. And that's the way it is in anything out here.
Yeah.
That you do. There's a great quote here back from this John Wooten. He says, I believe that failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And the main thing he also said is the main thing you need to prepare for is where is the system, where is the plan that I need to follow. You prepare to know where you're supposed to do, and then prepare to follow it. He didn't say you had to prepare to go out there and get everything perfect. And like the Celtics, they had to find out what is the Celtics system. How did they win all these championships? This is it. Oh, okay, well, I'm prepared because I know what I got to go do. In our business, a new person comes in, an upline leader's going to help him do step 1, step 2, step 3. The preparation is built into the system. You got to just prepare to have a submission to it, and boy, you'll be tough enough, as the old song says. And another thing is that when you get the right kind of toughness here, this was a great point here. I'll just read it so I don't say it wrong, and it says. The mark of a true champion is that he always performs near to his own level of competency. What he says is you need to always sort of be on, even though you're not where you want to be yet. Be the best you can be at that given moment. Because if you just sort of take breaks and next week I'll get back and go after it again, you're losing ground. You got to go make it up. He said always try to perform at your level of competency. And he said, this constant focus on the future is one reason that we continue staying near the top once we got there. People who are always on to go. My wife, Norma, used to always be on me. She said, Hubert, when you go relax a little bit? When you go slow down? I can't slow down. I mean, I reckon I could have, but I didn't want to. I knew that I had to always stay at this level. I had a higher level I wanted to go to, so I certainly didn't need to lose ground. So I kind of, once I got to a certain level, I tried to have a maintain it and then get ready for another surge. I'd maintain it and get ready for another surge. And that's the key is if you're fortunate enough to finally get yourself moving in the right direction, don't go and take a break. Don't go turn the engine off, the power off, and say, goody, I know how to do it. I can do this again next week. No, just stay at it. Stay at it. You can't have the compounding of repetition if you're constantly taking breaks, you know?
Yeah. Hey, listen, if you feel anything like Hubert just described, how he's felt ever since he started his entrepreneurial career, you have the right bug in your system. And if you don't feel like what Hubert just described, then you need to get the Alexander complex. Is a good a disease to have, if I can call it that way. And I want to ask you, and Hubert, allow me here because we got to wrap it up today. You know, it's about that time to wrap today's episode. But I do want to ask people if they've ever wondered what it really takes to build a billion-dollar company. What does it really take? What kind of philosophy, mentality, paradigm, systems? What is the entire, formula to build a billion-dollar company? Well, the reason I say that is because if you're curious, if you're even listening to the podcast, it's because we are in the same frequency or in a very similar frequency trying to find the answers to that. And so we have a Hall of Fame entrepreneur who's built not one, but 2 multi-billion-dollar market cap companies that reveals this whole thing. So if you want to know how to do that, I'm going to let you in a little secret here. We've been doing this ever since we started the podcast. Go to hgiopportunity.com right now. hgiopportunity.com. Listen to the presentation from the CEO of Hegeman Group International, which is the sponsor of this show, who is with us every single day. Check out the opportunity, and you can thank me later. Hubert, I think it's time to leave it with that. Thank you so much for all the value you always bring to us, driven, determined dreamers. I consider myself that, and I'm excited for what we have in store in tomorrow's podcast. So don't miss it, everybody. Have a great week, and Hubert, have a great week too.
You too.
Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance.